well, thanks very much. So the topic of this talk is silly patents. It's a little project I've been working on for a couple of years, kind of on the side. And since I started this, colleagues and friends have been sending me lots of silly patents. So thank you very much. So Josh, Marquetta, Jonas Anderson, Amelia, anybody else who wants to send me a silly patent, I will have a big appendix in the article that has a bunch of these all categorized. So please keep on. Okay, so there are lots of silly patents. We've heard of them all. Look, here's one, multi-purpose head here, right? On one hand, it's a hat. Okay, then you can unfold it, it's a megaphone, and then, look, it's an ear horn. You can, this is ridiculous, right? This patent is ridiculous. Why? How do we know? What makes these patents silly in the first place? You know, I want to try to get a little more precise in the Potter-Stewart test for looking at it and knowing it. What makes it silly? So, you know, we can take a look back to the aesthetics of humor. Arthur Schopenhauer, believe it or not generally known for his whimsical writing style, generally a really depressing philosopher, predecessor to Friedrich Nietzsche, actually did have a theory of the aesthetics of humor, and felt, and it's actually still, you know, probably the predominant theory today, that humor and silliness and funniness is based on incongruity, right? Something that we expect, and then something that's different from that expectation, but still in a vaguely familiar sense, right? So dogs playing poker, why do we all love that? Why is this hanging in all of our living rooms? Mine. You know, because they're dogs and they're playing poker, right? This is just inherently funny because of the incongruity. Okay, so let's transport this to the patent world, right? We have incongruity with different aspects of patent system, right? So patents are supposed to have useful inventions. Silly patents often are not that useful. Who needs that, right? We've got the enablement requirement. You know, some patents we think are silly because you could never do that. It's ridiculous, right? And some patents are silly because they are incongruous with anticipation and obviousness requirements, and that it's already been done. Everybody knows that. How did they get a patent on that, right? So just to flip through some of these, and it's really this last category that's of the most interest to me. But you know, utility, incongruity, you know, this is useless stuff, who needs it? This stuff, it may be useless, but it's generally patentable. Utility bar is very low, as you can see, in the automatic butt kicker, the back patter, you know, these things, the doggy umbrella. And these are classic silly patents, and we laugh at them. You know, I love making these slides. You know, here's the tricycle / lawnmower that actually could be useful if you don't value your children's lives or limbs. You know, very low bar on utility, as we know in patent examination. Enablement. You know, since the 16th century, we've had perpetual motion machines. Those the PTO actually does categorically not examine anymore. But there are other things that are difficult to enable. We've got the patent on warp drive, faster than light space travel. This was a, they forgot to include this in diagrams. But again, we laugh at it because like there's no way, right? At least not very soon. You know, a little bit less funny, but you know, we've got patents on research studies that have been discredited as fraudulent. This investigator is in jail, I think, in Korea right now. Nevertheless, we still issued a patent on it. And then we've got some patents that combine utility and enablement incongruity, and this dog scuba apparatus. You know, how useful is this? And could you actually get the dog in there? I'll show you. Yes, you can. I actually have photos. The non-obviousness incongruity and the anticipation incongruity is more important to me. These are the inventions that they're so obvious to just anybody looking at them that getting a patent, seeing a patent is amusing, surprising, or just outrageous. My wife finds all of these completely outrageous. Right? She's a scientist. Okay, so we've got a lot of famous examples of these, right? A toy for a dog. That looks like a stick that's made out of wood, right? Okay, 2002 patent. Yeah, we've got to assume that dogs were playing with wooden sticks before this was applied for. Right, we've got the famous comb-over patent, right? The method of concealing partial baldness. I'm doing this right now, and you can't even tell. The swinging on swing, right? This is a sideways motion on a swing filed by a patent lawyer just to see if you can do it. And we've got the method of exercising a cat using a laser pointer, which I have infringed numerous times. Our cat loves it, and he doesn't feel guilty at all, right? So who cares, right? This is all entertaining and amusing. You know, in actuality, most of these silly patents after late night comics and the Onion get a hold of them, the examiner, or sorry, the director of the PTO has the authority to issue a sua sponte re-examination of any patent, which happens with many of these, and all claims are rejected, often without really any explanation after this happens. Nobody's enforcing these patents, and if they did, they'd probably be found invalid. So is this really all just, you know, sort of light entertainment and amusement for the introductions to, you know, critiques of the patent system? And, you know, there are some that are silly patents that are a little bit more commercially important, right? Here's this, I think, Marquetta, I think you may, no, somebody sent me this one, right? It's like a deli ticket system for using the bathroom on an airplane. It might be kind of useful. IBM went through this at some point. We've got one that actually attracted a lot of press recently. Amazon's patent on taking a photograph of a product against a white background. We've got the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who now every month comes up with some patent that they call a stupid patent. Stupid patent is different from a silly patent. In their view, stupid patents are patents that are harmful for the economy, cover things, and a lot of software patents here. You know, so they're not necessarily funny, but there is some overlap in these diagrams. And of course, just yesterday I came across this picture, right? Facebook gets a patent on technology to help lenders discriminate against borrowers based on their social connections. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's silly or sad, or I should be worried about this. Or check out my friends list a little bit more closely. Anyway, there are some serious questions, right? All of these patents were issued by the PTO. How did they get issued? Maybe it has something to do with the cohorts that you guys were just talking about, the very lenient cohorts at some point. How did these obvious inventions get patented? Why did the examiner reject the claims? And then what are the implications for real patents, valuable patents? So for the two Alarview editors, here's section 103, which I assume all of you know. There used to be, before 2002, a rule, right, that said examiners could reject claims based on common knowledge and common sense of a person of ordinary skill in the art. That law was abolished in 2002, a Federal Circuit case in Ray Lee, that said, no more common knowledge. To reject a claim based on obviousness, you have to have a specific reference in the written record. You've got to focus on the written record. It becomes very important. This is the MPEP, the current edition, right, which repeats this documentary evidence requirement. The only time you can use common knowledge to reject a claim for obviousness is when there is an instant and unquestionable demonstration of a thing as being well known. And not many examiners are willing to go out on a limb and make that claim. Okay? So you're all probably thinking, well, what about KSR? KSR exists, and the PTO did take cognizance of it, right? But only in the combination of known elements, right? Not for this kind of stuff. So the MPEP and the examination practice, the PTO have not caught up, or they have not applied KSR to examination of these everyday objects in the initial search for prior art. So we have to go to the written record. What is the written record that examiners look at? It is principally the USPTO's patent database, right? This is a problem. All of these things like swings and tricycles and those sort of, they're not in the patent literature. Okay, people don't necessarily get patents on these things. Some areas like software, business methods, and so forth, also have low, or at least in the past have had low volume of patents. So the patent database is an imperfect universe of prior art to look at. They're also allowed to look at non-patent literature, right? NPL. If you read the PTO's website and literature, they make 600 different databases of NPL available to examiners. Many of those you actually have to go to the technical library in Alexandria and sit at a terminal and look at, which I found from interview with a number of examiners. So other than PubMed and the scientific literature, which they do a decent job of reviewing, NPL is not used all that much, right? The cat laser pointer, just looking at YouTube would get you, I told you, like, you get 75,000 hits of videos of cats chasing laser pointers around. They don't look at that. Okay, I mean there are some exceptions, right? The scroll support garment, you know, an examiner in 2012 actually just went to, you know, what we all know and love. This is a picture from the rejection, from the examination report. It's in black and white. I found the color version. Yeah, so this was anticipated, you know, this invention, and rejected, and it could not be overcome. But this is a rarity. This is a rarity, and in fact, the scrotal support garment was rejected not because it was so commonplace, like swinging on a swing, but because it was, at least in my experience, so unusual, right? But and so remarkable in the film. Okay, so what did we do? So we did a study.
This is a document. That's a document.
Sorry?
That's a document. You got a written. That's a printed publication.
Yeah.
Oh, well, fair enough. But it's not patent literature. It is right. They have to find written stuff. The things they find are bizarre, and I'll show you. So we actually got the file histories for some of the most infamous silly patents. Just a quick footnote, you know, these the file histories have been suppressed. They're not on pair. We had to actually go pay $275 each at the PTO library in Alexandria, send my RA down there and like collect them physically, but we did get them. And they're revealing, right? So here's the prior art cited in the swing patent, right? An 1881 patent for like a baby buggy on a swing. And, you know, not surprisingly, the applicant traversed the rejections, right? In the prior art swing, there are 3 chains. In this swing, there are only 2 chains, right? The user faces a different direction, the motion is side to side. Like, why is this? It's because even in 1881, the normal swing was well known and in the prior art, right? That's why the only patent he could find was an 1881 patent on this weird baby buggy swing. Nevertheless, this was the only piece of prior art that was cited against that patent. Here's the cat playing with a laser pointer. What was cited? An article from Psychopharmacology, a scientific article where researchers gave a drug to an animal test subject, a cat, you know, a psychoactive drug, and then tested its attention by pointing a light around and tracking its pupil movements to see whether or not the drug affected its visual acuity. And of course, you know, this is nothing like playing with a cat from a laser pointer, which of course the applicant demonstrated because, you know, the rejection was easily traversed in this case. In the prior art invention, the cat was immobilized in a little box. In our invention, the cat's free to run around the room. In fact, he gets beneficial exercise from our method, whereas in the experiment, he was confined. And the cat didn't benefit whatsoever from the experiment. In fact, depending on what the psychoactive drug did, the cat probably wasn't very happy. And, you know, darkened room versus ordinary ambient light. So really, after one set of rejections and appeal, it's all over, and these patents get allowed. Okay, so what are the problems here? We've got an over-reliance written record in the obviousness review, which again, when you're not dealing with combinations of elements that are known in the prior art, the PTO is not looking at KSR, not applying the KSR standard. The emphasis on the written record that's being obtained is on the patent art. There's not nearly as much emphasis on NPL as there probably should be. I mean, these days, Google should be the first place, right, that you look, but it's really not used very much at all. And so, you know, I've submitted some of these solutions in the, you know, the PTO quality survey and so forth. We'll see what happens, but that's the story. So, any questions? Yeah, well,
you looked at the searches that the USPTO encourages trademark examiners to do? As
no.
Strapping to say that, because I don't know a lot about trademark examination, but
I know nothing about it.
They do regularly look outside of the database.
They're totally separate groups of people, right? The trademark examiners. I guess I'm asking you guys. Cohort experts.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, the database part is what you're making the point of, right? They have other databases.
Right. They have other databases, and I think that they're encouraged to do things like search.
I would assume so. Yeah. That's a good point. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah.
So, how many silly patents did you look at total? Because one thing I'm sort of curious about is like, who were these examiners and what happened to them? Like,
We can give you our examiner roster
we could
data.
be like, are they junior?
This
Are
could
they
be like
senior?
a
Are they
humorous
gone
swan
now?
song that they're doing.
Yeah.
One of my RAs was an examiner, and so we tried to get in and tried to talk. I mean, so out of the 5,
So you looked
papers
at
that we
the
got,
five, yeah.
I mean, no. So we have records like 400, and we classified them. I mean, a lot of the silly patents that are online are sex toys.
Yeah.
You really didn't want to go there. Yeah, so of the 5 where we got the histories, the 4 of the examiners are still there, 1 just retired. And there seemed to really no penalty against these people. They wouldn't talk to us. They absolutely would not speak.
The other thing I was sort of curious with is, I'm sure you've heard that the PTO had this like, what they call like secret program, right? Where if you file an application on certain topics, it got routed to another thing so that they didn't get embarrassed with allowing patents on perpetual motion machines, allowing patents that cured, made you live forever or whatever. So I'm sort of curious, and like some of it, I think, I don't know if that sort of interacts with all.
Yeah, I mean, most of these just
because these are more like sort of
plain old mechanical.
Yeah.
They're just mechanical inventions. Yeah, I mean, we did talk about that again with my examiner RA about the secret applications, and they weren't in that unit.
It wasn't with this stuff.
Yeah.
Do they have any, I came in at the end, but do they have any obligation to look at foreign patent filings and prior art? Or
Does the PTO look at foreign patent databases?
Yeah.
For a non-PCT application? I don't think so.
Well, it still counts now.
I mean, they can look at anything, theoretically. But it's a question of how much time and effort that they want to put into it. So.
But I mean, with the change in the AIA, wouldn't that be more relevant now?
Yeah,
Probably. Yeah, I don't know.
It's really surprising that they don't do Google searches. I thought everybody does Google searches all the time. I mean,
they've got
so
they've got to have dating, right? Because of the the priority date. So they need things that have a date, and unless they're going to go back and through the Wayback Machine and so forth.
How do you know they don't do Google searches, right? I mean, maybe
just
they
asking the examiner. I mean, I
just ask them.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
But I mean, they could change.
As I'm sure people know, there's this entire Japanese art of useless inventions called Shindogu, and like some of them have attempted to be patented. And so I think that there's probably like a rich literature, although it's much more in the social science context rather than the legal context, about how some of these inventors who also create ridiculous inventions find the components to come up with their crazy things. So there's a documentary recently, I think it's on Netflix, it's actually really funny.
What's it called?
I don't know, but if you Google like Shindogu documentary, it's like the first thing that comes up. Or you could look up through like patents.
Yeah, that's good. Good job.
I thought one other reason they often didn't, the USPTO didn't like the idea of doing internet searching is they thought it might compromise confidentiality in terms of searches being done online. And, so that's the same thing at the Supreme Court. It's one reason even when you're sending out research requests from the Supreme Court you ought to try to channel at least to the Supreme Court library so that people don't know when justice is asking questions.
Interesting.
So that might be part of it. And then on the common side, I mean, I do like the idea more deployment of common sense. I mean, I would say just to think of what the USPTO or CSC's concern here is from an administrability perspective. It can be difficult. It can be more difficult to try to assure the quality of what people are doing when they're invoking common sense. And it can be a source of frustration to applicants when the examiner just seems to be pulling out of their head or their sense of what common sense is.
Well, exactly. And this is what led to Emory Lee, right, in 2002. What was viewed as an abuse of discretion by examiners in just, taking, official notice of something that was obvious, but in much more technical fields, though, than these. And, it does play into the whole Chevron, what level of deference do we give examiners here? It's a much more complicated story, right? I mean, with the low deference organization you have to have, you can only use a record, which is sort of how they got pushed into this regime.
Jorge.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry.
Yeah, about 1906, I don't remember exactly the date, somebody wrote a famous book about silly patents.
Really?
Okay, this field is over 100 years old.
Okay.
There is nothing new about silly patents. I'm wondering, it might be fun to look at the old silly patents. The Patent Office was criticized. I mean, so there's nothing new under the sun, mostly.
Well, so Judge Moore has an article about these patents. She calls them worthless patents.
Well, yeah, I forget. Maybe they use, I don't remember what the term was, but it was around 1906, something like that.
That I never came across, and I don't think she cited it either. So I will find it.
Unless my memory is totally gone. There was such a book.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
Yeah, because it's really old. And I was wondering too about In re Lee. Are your examples post In re Lee or?
Yeah, many of them are. Many of them are. They're like in the mid-2000s. Yeah. I mean, some are older. The cat one is a little older. But most of the others are more recent. Believe it or not, I will look at the 19. I will find that book.
But this isn't new. People have been having fun with this for a long time.
It's fun. I mean, the thing that Judge Moore's article didn't do was actually try to figure out why they were granted. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, right? I mean, I think we all agree they're kind of worthless and stupid.
That's probably new. That's new.
So, anyway, yeah. Well,
so how are you going to distinguish, though, between, I think it's really interesting, the idea of taking, let's take these kind of outliers, and what do they tell us about what might be happening in the patents we do care about. But how are you going to try to make that linkage? Because you could argue and say, well, those are the silly ones, and we don't actually have these problems that we're valuable.
Right. So Amazon's patent, I mean, right, the whole software patent thing is totally different. But like Amazon's patent on taking the photograph of the product in front of a white background and how to do it so you don't get a shadow and this and that. I mean, when that came out last year, there was an uproar because photographers say, we've been doing this for decades, right? We've known how to, Ansel Adams knew how to do this. And that never came up, right? The literature that was cited in that had never saw, photography journals and whatnot. The crimped edge sandwich, there's a cookbook called like 50 Great Sandwiches, that gets cited as the NPL. But because it doesn't have a crustless, it has some crustless sandwiches and some crimped edge sandwiches, but no crustless, crimped edge peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with like 2 layers. They traverse the rejections quite easily, right? So it's just not enough and not thorough enough as far as the field. Okay, anyway.